The topic today is death. And most of us have so many fears of death. And it's not about just death of the self, but it's also about death of a loved one. And then, as you look at the word death itself, and you're filled with fear because you don't want to lose somebody that you love, and you have problems dying yourself. But here is what I understand, that the minute we came to earth, we already came with an expiry date on the packaging. So as we come with the expiry date, why does it come as a surprise to all of us that, oh my God, we are going to die one day? You don't want to think about that day because that day puts you in so much fear. And so, what is it that you are doing with the mention of the word death? What you are simply doing is creating a lot of fears in yourself, whether it's to do with yourself or it's to do with your loved ones. Each of this is simply becoming a way for you to create fear and more fear. And what happens as you create more and more fear? That fear starts to manifest. So, whatever it is that you are fearing for yourself, does it manifest exactly as how you are fearing it to be? Or it will manifest in something else? Well, it will be your fear manifesting. So, it all depends on how much of it you've collected. It could be that you've collected on 5 different topics and it manifests on a completely unrelated sixth topic, and you don't even know how to deal with that. But the underlying concept of it just being that fear will simply create more fear, because joy will simply create more joy, and fear will simply create more fear, whatever the topic be. So, when we talk about fears that are related to death, what all fears do we have apart from these two? Well, even when we are talking about death of the self, there is also the fear that as we grow older, because we always associate growing old with death, there is deaths happening all over the place, which happen just like that, not a moment's notice. But in our limited concept, in our limited mind, we largely associate death with old age. And so when old age comes, it will bring with it many more diseases, and we will have to suffer from diseases as well. Now, if we have that fear in us already, what is it that we are going to find more and more around us? Of course, we are already going to find only those people who have disease. Because why? Because that's a fear that's already in our energy field. We are already operating from that fear. So, all of those people around us, if we know 10 people, 4 of them will have all kinds of diseases, 6 of them will all have all kinds of diseases, because it is our fear that is now getting deeper and deeper for us. And of course, as we build these programs that, oh, with old age comes disease, with death, just before death comes disease, what is going to happen? Well, the more fear you build, the more it's going to manifest. And so, okay, so in all of this, as we are looking at fears today, I'm just going to point out these fears to you. Where is it going to take you? To more fears, if that's your choice, or I'm going to suggest to you ways that you release the fears. Even the meditation today, it's going to be all about releasing the fears of death. So if you are somebody who doesn't want to release the fears and wants to live with those fears, then it's time that you will be actually logging off from this session, because I'm going to teach you how to be fearless. What will happen then? When you look at something you've already, so for example, let us say I'm fearful of my child dying in front of my eyes. Why is that? Because I've got an attachment with my child, right? I cannot even fathom what is it going to happen. I don't even want to think in that direction. I am so fearful. What have you done in this? You've created the fear and then you sit in it. Even God forbid, if a thought should cross your mind, it totally, if a dream should come where, you see your child dying in a dream, what happens, that already grows your fear so much more. If there is a parent that you are fearful of losing, you don't even want to think in that direction. What happens as you are not thinking? That energy of fear simply stays, and every time the universe manifests something like that around you, your fear grows. As that fear grows, it's going to manifest somewhere or the other, and it's going to find ways to multiply. And then I mostly find that, people, so many people come to me and they are pushed to the wall, because now they can't operate. They're operating at the height of anxieties. They've got blood pressures and everything. Why? Because they've collected and they've not processed their fears. So as this happens, is it going to be that if you've thought of your child's death, then the child will die? If you keep the fear in you that strong, it's going to manifest in some life or another. It will, because it's a fear that you haven't processed. So today I'm telling you with this process, that as you start to release your fears of death, of death of the self and of death of another, you are simply just making sure that you have peace of mind, and you are calm, and you are quiet, and all of these when the word death comes up. Are any of us going to be able to avoid death? No. But we will, we have actually saved up. And this is so beautiful, because when we think of somebody's death, we are like, oh my God, then I will be heartbroken then. I will cry for days and days then. So, what have you got? You've already got that entire scenario of somebody's death in your head, and now you're saving up that stock. You're saving up that stock of tears to be shed should that happen. That stock stays with you as form of sadness. It's the form of grief. So I'm going to ask you today to not save up that stock in your energy field, but to actually release the grief today. Where does the grief come from? The grief comes from unprocessed emotions of expectations from the other. This person and I were supposed to do so much more. That never happened. And so what does that lead to? That leads to a lot of sadness. He was supposed to give this to me, and that never happened. And now, so there is all these unprocessed desires that you have, which when broken will only give you a lot of grief. So rather than stocking up on that grief, I tell you today that start to release that grief itself. How will you release the grief? By letting go of the attachment. How can you let go of attachment where you are so strongly attached to the body? How can you even let go of this attachment? By recognizing that you and he, whoever that person is that you are thinking of and are so fearful of losing, you never lose anyone, because everything and everyone is energy. So even in the morning session, this came up, because what is it that you are fearful of losing? The most people that you're attached to, the person that you are most attached to, is because you've received a certain kind of love from them, a certain kind of security, a certain kind of protection from them. And that's what you miss the most. When I lost money when I was 26 years old. For 18 years straight, I cried. Every morning and every evening, I cried, because I had lost this person who loved me the most unconditionally, and nobody else could match up to that love. And so I cried the entire 18 years, saying, I've lost that love, I've lost that love. And it was so funny, because now when I understand that money comes not just to me, but comes to 100 other people as well at all times, and passes on, messages to them, brings you whoever you want to be in touch with. And he's constantly here. Why? Because he's energy. So if one person is energy, then guess what? Just extrapolate all of us are simply energy. So whoever you've lost, and if you wish to be in touch with them and you want to take a message from them, I've been teaching this to people forever, that every energy you can speak to, nobody has gone anywhere at all. The minute you take their name, whether alive or not. What is it that I ask all of you to do at all times? Tune into the energy of Meenal. Are you tuning into this little body of mine? Absolutely not. You are tuning into the energy, the frequency of Meenal. And whether this body remains or not, that energy is constantly going to be there for you to tune into it and for you to receive from it. You are not receiving everything that my body is going through. I mean, what if my body is going through menstrual pains today? You are not going to be sitting in those pains just because my body is going through it. No, you are tuning into the energy, the frequency that is me, that is Meenal. And so you are tuning into the frequency of abundance. You are tuning into the frequency of Masti. As a body, I go through several emotions in a day, but I have a core frequency, and that's the one that you tune into. So if you're going to continue to tune into my energies, well, you can tune into the energies of anyone that you've ever lost or you perceive that you've lost them, because they've gone nowhere. The minute you think of them, the minute you take their name, they become the actor. Now decide. It's for you to decide whether that actor through that name is going to bring you joy or is going to give you grief. It's a choice, and it's your choice. In awareness, it's your choice. In unawareness, of course, you will continue to sit in grief, as I did for 18 years. And today, when somebody says, oh, this one passed on, this one died, that happened, this and that, and I say, well, everyone has come with an expiry date, because this is only a short vacation. Our existence on earth is not the real thing. The real thing is when we are in that expanded form, that energy that's been going on and on and on and on and on for a million years. That's the real thing. This is simply the way to experience everything that our energy holds, our real self holds, and it just creates this form, this costume through which we can experience. This is why I always tell people, I play a role, you play a role. Around you, people are playing roles. So whether you lost a mother or you lost a son, whoever it is that you lost, I lost a father. But the minute I think of the father, and now I know how. I now know how to talk to the energies. And so now, in my energies, when you are there in my energies, you can talk to whoever the hell you want to speak to, and they will respond to you. The process is really simple. After the meditation, as you do the 13-minute meditation, simply sit in the meditation, and whoever you wish to speak to, maybe there was a last time that you wanted to let them know that you love them, or maybe you had a lot of unresolved issues that you want to solve with them. No matter what, maybe you need a closure. No matter what it is that you want to speak to them, you can receive a message from them. And that's the process. Sit in the energies of Meenal. So do the meditation for that 10-12 minutes that is there, and then just call out to money and tell money, I need to speak with this person today. And so, can I please have a message from that person? You don't need to speak anything else. There is no questions even that are needed to be asked, because you know what? Energies are constantly talking to your energies. There is no need for a verbal communication at all. But all the thoughts that you're going to receive at that point, if you receive a thought, it's not coming from your frequency. Guess why? Because you have just tuned into the Meenal frequency, where you can receive all the answers. So if you start to receive answers, you laugh as if, look, oh no, I'm probably imagining this. It has to come through as your imagination only. How else will the thoughts come to you? How else will the energy correspond? Everything that you are thinking, you are creating your next reality. That is the power of your thought. And so everything that you're imagining is actually a communication between energy to energy. So as the energy is communicating with you, thoughts will come. You simply write those thoughts, and that is the message from that person to you. As you read the message, if you feel calm and peaceful, well, that's wonderful. If you don't feel calm and peaceful, and you feel even more perturbed as you hear the message, then you are simply going to talk to money. In that moment, talk to money and say, what is it that I need to release? What is it that I need to release? Because somewhere, if you're still feeling perturbed, there is hurt, there is attachment. So you will ask money, what is it that I need to release in this place today? And you will do the releases through the candle process. So it's just a very, very simple process, because understand that you are not this body, you are simply energy. Whoever came, whatever their expiry date was, you have no control. You cannot even control your own death. So forget trying to control somebody else's death. So again, will the thought of somebody's death create fears in you? If today it's creating fears in you, now you have a choice to release those fears. Are you going to cry on that day? Probably not. If you've already released your fears today, and if you've already cried all your grief today, then what is over there on that day? The life will continue as it always was, because neither have you lost them then, and nor have you lost them today. You can't lose anybody. There is nothing to lose in the energy. The energy is always there. The energy stays. The energy is eternal. So when we forget that and we are only in the body, then we create a lot of attachments and we create a lot of grief. I'm telling you, let go of the grief. Don't carry it with you for that day to be released. Because what if that day doesn't happen? Then you simply carry that into your next life and your next life. So use this opportunity to empty your pot. These days, the one thing that causes a lot of fear in people is corona. I have mentioned it many a times that there's nothing but fear in there. You release your fear, and you might even get it, and it won't even bother you, and it won't impact you, and it'll be simply done like any other flu. But if you hold fears for corona, then guess what? If you do get it, then it's going to have all the symptoms that you have imagined for yourself, and maybe a little bit more. And let us say you have all the fears of corona and you haven't got corona, and you never get corona. Well, fear doesn't hold by a topic, it'll come as another disease. So fears only manifest as largely as diseases. I've seen so many people where fears have manifested as cancer. And so I tell people that start to let go of your fears, and then you will be fearless. But also in your energies, let us say there is still that fear and cancer manifests. Even then, where is the fear? Simply accept it, allow it. Accept it and allow it, because now you know that it must have only manifested because there was fear. So now start releasing it. Where is the time when it comes to energies? There is no concept of time in the energies. Every disease, if somebody has told you that it cannot be cured, and then you make it your program, then it cannot be cured, then it's your program. So now remove that program, release all those fears from underneath that program. Death will come. Death is part of our system. And so death will come, and we will go back to float as energy. And then we'll pick up another costume and we'll come back again to experience whatever remained. But let that whatever remained be so filled with joy that the next time you come, life is going to be such a beautiful place to be. Energy doesn't work in time and space. Cry today and be done with it. Whatever you, and as you are done with this, what is it that you're inviting more in your life? You're inviting more joy, you're inviting more abundance and more freedom. You're inviting Param Anand. It's the blissful existence where you can simply exist, knowing that this is neither the end and nor was it the beginning. The beginning was a million years ago, and probably a million years might continue, or this might be your last life here. When you start to come into oneness, when you start to recognize your limitlessness, then earth, so stops serving its purpose of showing you duality. And so start to work in that space today, and you will find yourself floating in so much peace. I lost my 6-year-old baby 2 years back, and I still cry for him. Absolutely. And so, as I mentioned, that today you've made that little fellow, hardly the little fellow, a crore and 6 years old, but you've made him the actor for your grief. And it's a choice that we hold. I didn't recognize that choice, and neither did you. But today we are going to make that choice, that now we are going to use that person as a source of joy and not as a source of sadness. Because when we put any emotion to that person's name, then that is the energy exchange that's happening between the two of us. When I look at a person and I feel sad, so I look at the picture of my 6-year-old and I feel sad, then that's the energy that reaches him. And guess what? He keeps becoming a mirror to you for more sadness, and even more sadness. So I did that for 18 years with money, made him the source of my sadness. And I'm just simply letting you know that now that I know better, I laugh and I really fight with him. Then why didn't you tell me that you were here all the time? What a waste of time it was for me to be crying for 18 years. I'm not afraid of death myself or anyone. What does it mean? It's so beautiful that you've understood that you are energy, and so you're not afraid. And that's how it is. So I'm not afraid either. I've already looked at all of that, and especially because I was so afraid of Mani's death, and that happened just like that. He was 52, 53 years old. And when I was young, I was 26 years old at that time. And if somebody even told me, he was the person that I loved the most on planet Earth. I loved him to death. So if somebody told me that, what will happen when he will die, I would have stopped talking to that person. That how dare you even suggest something like that? And then it happened. And then for 18 years, I cried. And today, so it's so beautiful. The two experiences. Mani had a heart attack, and he died of a heart attack. And so that was my experience at this frequency when I was unaware. For the next 18 years, I grieved. 18 years, it's a long bloody time. So for the next 18 years, I grieved. I was at this frequency. I started to empty myself out. And then happened my second experience of seeing my other parent go through a heart attack. And that experience, this experience was here. And I saw what I feared the most, and it happened. And I was so into the experience, and I cried for 18 years. And then what happened? And then I started to empty, and my next level happened here. My mother had a heart attack. I was at this frequency, and I told her to come also into this frequency. What happened to the outcome? The outcome shifted as well. So what happens when you are at a different frequency and operating from fearlessness? The outside also starts to shift, because everything is a game of your frequency. There are people in our energies who will come to us in the energies that we resonate at. That's why the other day, when we were having this conversation on who's the perfect mate for us, should we like wait and wait for the right person to come along and everything? And I just laughed. I said, no, you can't wait for the right person, because whoever will come to you will be as per your energy. Your job is not to find the perfect mate outside, but actually to start emptying your own pot. So whatever it is, so understand that love is the emotion, and the actor could be any. And this is what I explained in the morning, and you're probably referring to that question. So here is the story from the morning. I cried, as I said, for 18 years to feel that hug from Mani again. because I was, so he said, I'm everywhere and I'm energy and I'm with you and I've never gone anywhere. And I said, no, it's not that. You can't give me the hug that you used to give me. He had this big beer hug that he would give me. And I said, no, that's the thing that I miss. That's the part that I miss, that nobody hugs me like you used to hug me. Nobody loves me like you used to love me. And so then came the understanding that, look, I was simply an actor to what? An actor to the unconditional love that you hold within you. There is no money outside. There is a money frequency, but there is no father. That father was simply an actor to show me the unconditional love that is in my energies, and that was getting reflected through him. So the unconditional love is still there in my energy, but I'm not allowing it to play out, at all, because I've pinned it to know that person needs to give me this kind of love, and there is nobody else who can match up, and only that person could give me that kind of love. It's not about them. The love is within me, in my energies field, which was getting reflected off him. So there is nobody else but simply your mirrors, and that's what they do. So cute, Sonali. I love your hug too. So that's when. So what happened then? When he gave me the understanding that he was simply an actor, and I limited it by, narrowly focusing on the body, that only this body can give me this kind of love, only this body can give me this kind of protection. So I limited myself into my body experience and created what from it? I created grief for 18 years. And when I'm done with that, and he said that you take a glass, you take a large mirror, and now you break the mirror into 1,000 pieces. And as you break the mirror into 1,000 pieces, each of those little pieces is a mirror by itself. And so I come to you every single day in 1,000 different ways, but you've got yourself so focused and so attached to my body that you can't see beyond that. So you've got to look at the 1,000 mirrors that are coming to you to show you the unconditional love that you hold within yourself, and you're not allowing that to play out. Why? Because of the attachment with one body. So then what happened? What did I do? I actually, got up the next day and I went around hugging everybody. And through every hug that I received, I understood it was money hugging me back. Because now also, when, and people say, I love to hug, and I tell everybody that, yeah, many people come and touch my feet, and, they take me a guru position, and all of that is okay. I understand that they're not giving me that honor. They're recognizing the Shiva in themselves, and I'm showing up as that actor. So they love me unlimitedly. But for me, every time somebody, touches my feet, and I say they too are Shiva, and so I touch their feet right back. But the part that I like is to be able to give them a big hug, because I understand that the hugs that are being received back and forth are from money to money, are from Meenal to Meenal. It is that unconditional love that I hold within me, that now I am allowing to be expressed through several different actors. And I'm not limiting it to no only one person could do that. So with the event of death, nothing happens, because death happens every single day. When we sleep, we die. We die for the next 6 hours, and then we wake up again in a new life every single day. So that's pretty much what death looks like, that except that we die and we wake up one day in a new costume. Probably the next day itself, probably 3 days later, we have some longer sleep period or something, but then we come into a new costume that time, and that's all. So there are otherwise every single day. So death does really nothing except become a tool to create for you in your energies. It creates fears, it creates grief, and sometimes if you really didn't like the person who died, then it creates a lot of joy as well. So that's simply a tool. It's nothing else but a tool. Just like how Money is creating a tool for us. It's a tool for us to create many emotions. Death is a tool for us to create many emotions. Right now, isn't it beautiful that the whole world is running so scared of death? And I just love, because I mean, I was just having this conversation that people are, for corona, to save themselves from corona, this mask, that mask. And suddenly, there are additional numbers of floods. There is additional numbers now. Today itself, I heard in California there are forest fires, and there's all of that happening over there. So the death will come in any which way. Tum kahan bachoge? Where all will you hide? It's just an event. It's like how a birthday happens every year. Well, death happens every day. If you understand yourself as energy, when you sleep, you're at peace. It's like death. And then when you get up in the morning, it's like a new birth. So we are birthing every morning, and it's a brand new life for us. Except that, what is it that we do every single day? We pick up all of those worries that we had yesterday, and we work on that, and we pick them up. And so this new birth, every single day that we have, we don't release anything, but now in awareness. And then one day, even when you take that new costume, have you released everything? No, you still continue to work with the same energy pot of yours. So that's why I tell you, people, start to release. All right, people, so just a nice little deep breath. Inhale and exhale. And as you exhale, tap your forehead. And as you tap your forehead, I am the energy of Meenal. I am the frequency of Meenal. I am Meenal. And for all the people who did this in the morning, as I go through the same process again, take a look if this experience holds lesser fears for you, because you would have released some things in the morning. So just take a look if this is creating a different experience for you. And that's all. So a deep breath, and now you can stop tapping your forehead in case you're still tapping. You can just relax and take a deep breath in and exhale. And another deep breath in. And as you exhale this time, what if this is your last breath? With this understanding that what if this is your last breath? And exhale. And as you exhale your breath, and the next breath in is your new life. It's a new life with every breath out, the last breath. And with every new breath in, it's a new life. Your new life. So understanding that the game of death means nothing. No one goes anywhere. They are energy. And your association with them is eternal. There is no losing anyone. They are with you at all times, just as you are with them at all times, irrespective of body or not. As you inhale this information, and this information in every part of your body, and now call out to money and ask him to hold your hand. So you will almost imagine money as however you want to imagine him. There is money, and then there is you. And you are the child, and money is the father. The child frequency holding the hand of the Father frequency. You are the child. And now I want you to look in front of you. As you look in front of you, imagine your dead body, your own dead body. And you are lying over there, dead and ready to be cremated. And as you look at your body, I want you to observe all the emotions that you, as the energy holding money's hand, all the emotions that you are feeling if this moment, in this moment, was to be the death. Your dead body in front of you. And I want you to simply understand you are the energy. And all the emotions that the energy is feeling are to be observed. If you are feeling fear, make a note of what this fear is. If you are feeling unfulfilled dreams, that too is simply a fear that they will not get fulfilled. If you are feeling sad at having left too early, then that sadness is in you. And now you will simply walk together with money and light the pyre and watch yourself being cremated. And as you are cremating your own self, throw in all the fears that you felt into this fire. Your body is done. It came here to experience fears. It's done. You don't need to carry them anymore. You are energy now. All the unfulfilled dreams, the sadness, the disappointments into the fire. If this was your last minute, then that is what you would be exactly feeling. If you're feeling guilty that you couldn't take care of someone, then understand that they already have their own energy field. And that energy field is going to take care of them and not you. You were simply an actor, and that's all there is. Letting go of whatever emotion that you are feeling till you come to a place of complete calm and complete peace. And as you are standing next to money, if you need any help, simply in the energies, hug money and take the protection from him. If you feel the need for protection, though, then let go of that fear as well, that you are not protected. Feel yourself as the all powerful energy, because right now you have released your fears, your expectations, your attachments to your body. What remains is you, the powerful Shiva. And now a deep breath. And with that deep breath in, your new life. This is your new life. This is your energy. And you can choose your energy however you wish to. And now, with another deep breath in, I want you to think of a loved one of yours, any loved one, the loved one that you are so scared of losing. Or maybe you've lost that loved one already, and you will simply bring them into the now and put their body in front of you, their dead body. And as you watch that body, and as you light that pyre along with money, I want you to walk up to that body and light that pyre and observe all the emotions that are coming up. If there is grief, let it out. If there is sadness, you can let it out. You can cry. You can understand that all of this grief you had stored in your energy field. And so instead of waiting for another day, you are releasing all the grief today. And so release. If there are fears, then into this fire, throw the fears. Because that person, as you can see, is already dead. Whatever fears you had associated with them, they don't matter anymore. You can see their dead body in front of you. Instead of waiting for that day to release your fears today. If there is attachment, because they have gone and they were supposed to do so much for you, and you were supposed to do so much for them, and you're feeling the pain of unfulfilled wishes, into this fire, you can throw them as well. Because what will happen when they actually die? You will do the same thing then. So don't wait for that day. Today, in the now, throw away the pain of all these unfulfilled wishes. And as you've done that, as you're holding money's hand, just look to your right and you will find that their energy too is standing right next to you. Right next to you. And the energy is feeling so light and so beautiful. And you can hug the energy right now. And both of you, along with money, or maybe 3 of you, or 4 of you, as many people as you decided to come to unconditional love with today, all those energies are standing right next to you. They've gone nowhere. And now is the time for this big hug. So just hug the energy and watch yourself hugging the energy and feel the love that was not the body, that was the energy. Because the body, you can see, is burning. And taking a big hug in the energies from all those that you've either left or the ones who've left you, the ones who are alive and the ones who are not alive. This is the time to receive love from all of them. Any one hug that you are missing, just call out in the energies and receive. You want a hug from Meenal? This is the time. Just receive. And now let go of money as well. Let money leave. Nobody goes anywhere and nobody ever is lost. But when we hold attachment to anyone, then the love becomes conditional. So, even allowing the love from money to flow to us unconditionally. And if any of you are scared of losing me, I hope that today you will burn my pyre as well, so that love from you can flow to me unconditionally. And a new life with every breath. So take a deep breath in for this new life, understanding that every moment of death is release, simply a release. Om Mani. You can open your eyes whenever you wish to. So beautiful. Yes, attachments come back in. So, what I do is I actually do this exercise of burning my loved ones. Every 2 or 3 months, I actually repeat this exercise that I just did with all of you, because it is only then that you actually can be unconditionally loving when the attachments are not there. Otherwise, expectations creep in, and when there are expectations, right at the back of it is fears and hurt. So, when those things creep in, we are simply using those people as actors to grow more of that in our energies. And so I actually do this tool. And so one of the people, when I was doing this tool, I was explaining this tool even in this attachment webinar of mine. And it was so funny because somebody asked me that what if we think about somebody so much and constantly keep creating their death scenario, then won't it manifest? Well, that's a fear as well. So you will release this thought that your energy can cause somebody else to die. No, you have no control. You only have control over your emotions, and that too, actually, you don't have control. You don't know that you can control. So the awareness is teaching you to to be aware that you can release, your anger, you can release your emotions, you can even release your grief beforehand. You can do that. What does it take to stay in oneness, especially when in form? Because once you're in the midst of the day action, well, it takes awareness. And that's all. So every now and then I tell people don't stop writing the journal, and that constantly, and the power of observation, that observation exercise that was taught to you in the 30-day program, that's to be done at all times, and you will constantly be reminded again and again by all of us meaning whoever you're considering your guide frequency. You will be reminded in that moment when you are coming from separation. Maybe you will experience it for a few minutes, and then you will come back into oneness again. Shortly and sweetly, you'll come back into oneness. So even when you're experiencing separation, it's all right. Don't judge yourself. Oh, bloody hell, why do I keep going back into separation? That's the journey. And every time you're able to come back into oneness, that's perfect. I realized I have the stress of living and was happy by my death. So again, as I said, that here again is lack, that I'm not equipped to deal with life. I'm not equipped. I don't have those resources, or I'm incomplete, and I won't be able to go through life. These are all programs which are not serving you. So start to release those programs, and you come again when you realize that, oh, you're so happy to see yourself dead. That happened with me the first time when I found that, okay, they came and said, okay, death time. And then I was like, yay, let's go. So that was just like, and they said, why? Because I said, oh, I will be so much more free when I'm able to let go of this life. I will be energy, I will be free, all constraints over. I can go wherever I feel like. And then the understanding that came was, array, idiot, you went through so much of, you wanted a life to grow your experiences, because the energy cannot taste the gulab jamun. To taste the gulab jamun, you have to be in the body. And so you begged and begged for this body form, and you wanted this body form, and now that you have this body form, you're dying to go back to energies. And in the minute you're back in the energies, you'll be crying again for the body form. So funny. So anyway, so that's how it is. I know that I'm scared of pain and death, and I can't see people die. It just makes me sad. For me, it's impossible to listen to the topic of death. So I avoid the topic of death. Yeah, perfectly. And I said, that's fine. You don't have to do any of this stuff, and everything will happen exactly as it is meant to happen. And you will keep going through your own levels of increased levels of unhappiness through the life. So that's perfect. It's not bothering me and it's not bothering you. Then we are in perfection. You're happy with your unhappiness, and so therefore I'm happy for your unhappiness. So here it is that Harshit, so some of you know Harshit, and Harshit came to be with me, at my house. And as soon as he walked into the house, like literally, and he was coming to stay with me for the very first time. He'd attended my workshop and all of that, and he said, "Can I come and stay at your house?" And I said, "Yeah." And so when he came in to stay at my house, he barely walked in, and one of the first 10 sentences out of the 10 sentences that I said to him, work on your fears of death. Now, he didn't listen to me, because, when I speak and I tell people that I constantly speak guidance, and people don't take me seriously half the time. And like, take care. That's your story, whether you want to do this or not. And I never bother, are you following guidance or not? Because it's not my job to run after you to follow your guidance. My job is to make sure that I remain completely in joy, whether you follow guidance or not. So therefore, so I didn't say anything to him. And then the next day I again awoke, and then again, you need to work on the fears of death. You need to work on the fears of death. The man didn't work. And so on the fourth day, and I did this for 3 days, constantly reminded him, you need to work on the fears of death. And he wasn't listening, and I said, okay. And he was like, he was sitting with all these philosophical questions. I need to understand why this happens, and I need to understand this, and you give me the knowledge. And I was like, knowledge, not important, but you need to release this. Wouldn't listen. So what happened on the fourth day, he and I are sitting. I have this habit that, whenever I find these conversations too heavy, I start to play my games on my computer. So Harshit is like, describing some very heavily philosophical thing. I started to play a game on my computer, and I'm still responding to him, because it's not me, it's money. So all the answers are going. And yet, in the middle of all of that, suddenly he goes all red and huge palpitations. And he immediately, looked at me and he says, Didi, I'm just receiving this that I'm dying. So I'm busy on my computer games. And I said, yeah, you're dying. So I didn't even look
Right.
up. So then
And
he's like, no, no, I'm serious. I'm dying. I was like, I know you are serious. For the past 3 days, I've been telling you, release your fears of death. You're not listening to me. Now go bloody die. So he's like, okay, okay, what should I do now? Like, you told me 3 days and I haven't listened to you, but now tell me what to do. I said, well, go and release now. I said, write down all your fears. I think he made a list of about 200, all related to death, self and family and da 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 da, everything. And then I told him, okay, now, sit with an actual diya, because you've written them all down. and now start to release and do an actual burn. So I really, I told him, okay, now sit with a piece of paper on for every person and everything and for every fear. And now you bloody burn that entire paper only. And you understand that these are all fears and they can be released. So he did the release process and all of that, and like every person that he loved on this planet Earth, he obviously had to do the release for everyone. So he did all of that. And then I think it was about a year later, and when his father suddenly passed on, like, very, very young father, just like mine, so at the age of 52 or 53, the father suddenly just had a little bit of a chest pain and passed on. And Harshit happened to be, he used to stay in Gurgaon, but he happened to be in, happened when I say, well, all by design, but he was with his father and the entire family was already there. And whereas all of them, only the father and mother used to be there and brother was working elsewhere. But at that point in time, everybody was there. And suddenly, just like that, the father passed on. And so when, he called me in a few hours and he said, this is what has happened. And, and I asked him, how are you doing? And he was like, you made me do the work at that point in time. And it's so beautiful because I'm feeling his presence everywhere, and it's like he hasn't gone anywhere. So I have zero pain that this fellow has gone anywhere. and
My
and not
God.
just him, no, not just this, that he's feeling the presence. His mother had never met me. Mother had never met me, but in that moment when the mother was suddenly feeling this loss so amazingly, Harshit just was able to, teach her the candle process in that moment. And she, from this person who suddenly lost the spouse and is feeling so whatever, lost or whatever, but within a few minutes she changed too. And she was feeling so beautiful and calm because she could feel the presence. So
My God.
there was no losing anybody at all. And they all had this beautiful experience of oneness with the energy. And it was, and when I tell people tune into my energies, and so everybody, all of you are actually moving in the same energy band. What energy band is this? The energy band of Meenal. And Meenal receives answers. And it was so beautiful because in the group, that WhatsApp group that we have, in that group, there was this person, Gurpreet, who was sitting in Delhi, who was clueless of what has happened to her shit. But she was sitting in meditation and she started to receive poetry and poetry, all from Harshit's father. Poetry and
Oh, wow.
all from Harshit's father. And she's writing about death, suddenly, ki chita jala do, ye kar do, wo kar do, writing about
Oh my
death.
God.
And then the second poetry saying, वो नीली साड़ी पहन के और लाल बिंदी पहन के something something. So this poetry, I think, was received by Seema. Now Seema is looking at this, this poetry, which is नीली. Seema is like, मैं कौन सी नीली साड़ी पहन के रहती हूँ सबसे, मेरे पास तो कोई नीली साड़ी नहीं है, or some, she can't relate to it. And then Harshit read that. She's like, I received this poem, but I can't understand this poem. Harshit read that poem and he said, no, it's from my father to my mother, because she has a neeli sari that he used to love, and she always puts a red dot on her forehead. So he's
Oh
saying
my
to her
God.
कि उसको वो ही पहन के रहना, मतलब, you have to wear the red dot, don't let it go. So when the person is talking to you, can you imagine how much beautiful understanding that nobody has gone anywhere? So he said to me कि दीदी आपने मुझे इतनी प्यारी जगह पे लाके रख दिया कि I have zero sense of loss. I haven't lost anybody. So, anyways, so please understand that, when you're able to release your fears, then you open yourself to such beautiful experiences. Otherwise, of course, like everybody else, you will cry for 18 years. Me, 18 years. And now I understand that I didn't lose anybody. And so there is no reason for me to be in grieving at all. I don't need to grieve anybody. I don't need to grieve anything. I can flow more and more in masti. at all times. And so that's the story for today. And it came back to me. That means it had to be related to you all, and you needed to understand how beautiful is this, not losing anyone at all. So please understand this for whoever you are missing. Lots and lots of love, and I will see you here hopefully next Saturday.